Hello, hello.
Hi.
We're back. It's your homie, Peanut the Wicked, or just simply Jesus.
And I'm Nelly or Nelly Vicious. ¿Cómo están lombricientas de agua de charco?
Pinche naca.
Ay, asqueroso.
Welcome to another episode of The Missing Component. Alrighty. Let's get right the fuck into it. How are you? First of all, how you doing?
Is that a question, girl?
Yeah.
Do you see this?
Raggedy. Mm-hmm.
Ah! Turn off the camera and beat this bitch up.
Anyway, well, I'm doing okay. Thank you for asking. I'm a little sore because I just got a new tattoo. So if you're following on my Instagram, you'll see my new tattoo.
I thought they ripped your hole.
Anyway, so today's episode, it's going to be a little bit different only because it's not going to be all kikis and banters and talking shit. It's going to be a little bit more serious. We're going to add a little bit of fun, but it's going to be
shit. The fuck?
Always. But we are going to, it's going to be a little bit of a serious topic, but we are going to have fun, right? So today's topic, we are going to talk about starting with the Mexican Reparation Act.
Repatriation.
The Mexican Repatriation Act of what year was it again?
It was between 1929 and 1936, right when World War II was happening.
Right before the Great Depression, basically.
Yeah, around that time. Yeah.
So basically, the reason why
I know you were born around that time.
I was not. Basically, so the reason I wanted to talk about this with you guys was because we wanted to just give a little bit of education, a little bit of a reminder that, given what's happening these days, history always repeats itself, unfortunately. History always repeats itself. So the reason that the Mexican Repatriation is something I wanted to talk about specifically is because, obviously we have a president that is trying to, he's talking about mass deportations and he's already kind of getting into it even on his fucking first day. Excuse my language. The reason I say that I want to talk about that and what it has to do with Mexican Repatriation is basically during that time, that's what the government was doing. They were
exiling,
deporting Mexicans and Mexican-born.
Let me rephrase that for the stupid people online.
Oh, I said it wrong.
Native Californians, as well as native Texans and native Arizonians, also known as American-born Mexicans.
Chicanos.
Exactamente.
Yeah. So basically, not that I'm trying to read off of what I'm seeing, but basically the Mexican Repatriation Act was a government-sponsored program that forcibly removed Mexican Americans and other people of Mexican ancestry from the United States between the years of, like he said, 1929 and 1936. The program was carried out during the Great Depression. So the reason for this is basic, kind of like what we're seeing today, is basically wanting to get rid. Well, for back then, it was basically wanting to get rid of competition. Obviously, during the Great Depression, there were a lot of Americans who were not working, and one way the government was trying to fix the problem, or their quick fix solution, was deporting the Mexicans, whether they were born here or not born here. For them, it was a way of reducing the competition for getting jobs.
Yeah, about 300,000 to 2 million were deported around this time.
I want you to say that number again. How many were deported?
Between 300,000 to 2 million were deported between 1929 to 1936.
Yes. So basically, it's what happened then is kind of what is happening now. That the authorities would round up anybody who was of Mexican ancestry, whether they were legal citizens or not, just rounding them up, putting them on their buses and putting them back over the border.
It's literally I don't want to just call them Mexicans because at the end of the day, you know, like I like to call myself native. I'm a native person, and I think anyone who is brown, skin, are native. So
Mm.
natives were being deported to a country that wasn't theirs, that they didn't grow up in, that they didn't know nothing about. Um, just to put it into context.
Yeah. So basically, the deportations back then were basically they were fueled by this sentiment that the Mexicans were taking jobs, which sounds eerily familiar to today, doesn't it? That was the sole reasoning, and that was their quick fix of like helping other Americans. I'm gonna say other Americans. We know which other Americans, but helping those other Americans, making sure they found jobs. So,
The reality was because honestly, California, Texas, and the surrounding areas, uh, they were being America was trying to whitewash them, just to make again that race
the majority.
the majority in that area. So
And this is something that I know a lot of people who are probably watching, it's something that you guys did not learn in history class. And it does, for me, it makes me sad because growing up and going to school, history class was my favorite subject. I don't know why, but I loved learning like what happened in America. I loved learning of the history of the world. I don't know why. It was just something that was the one class that I really paid attention in.
but
History class.
weren't you born around that time?
Oh,
So you couldn't
girl,
know
here we go with the
history
old jokes.
firsthand.
That joke is old. The old jokes are old. But it does make me sad that after high school, that after college, that when I looked into when I looked into Mexican American history, that was something that popped up, is that these mass deportations had already happened. So it broke my heart for several reasons. Obviously, because why didn't they teach this in high school? And this is something that they're still like, obviously in the
That
past
we're
few
dealing
years,
with.
that's something that was a reality. It's a reality for many Mexicans and other brown people. It's been a reality almost our entire life.
It's honestly is literally just to my knowledge and to my understanding is literally just pointing fingers,
Exactly.
and blaming people who are not of Caucasian descent, for the lack of government.
It's just like today, like I'm saying, it's a quick fix. It was a quick fix for them. Like, oh, the Great Depression, so many Americans without jobs. So their quick fix was to just, like you said, point the finger, be like, oh, it's them,
it's
it's
a
them.
fault.
Let's get them out of here so that other Americans have the opportunity to find jobs. And it just sounds,
Ridiculous,
and again, very familiar.
ignorant,
Yeah,
abusive.
yeah. It's an abuse of power instead of truly looking at what the problem is or another way to fix it. This president and the people around him, they're just pointing fingers. They're the problem.
We
They're the problem.
we
They're the problem.
we want to say this president, but honestly, all presidents before this president have continued the same exact
Sentiment,
and the same exact.
mass deportations. Yeah, because in all honesty, like it's something that is public knowledge. Even under the Biden and Obama administrations, there were deportations. However, it wasn't as ugly, and it wasn't a threat in the public the way this president is doing it. Like this president is basically doing exactly what they did during the Mexican reparations times. I keep saying it wrong. Repatriation times is that rounding them up and separating families. And like we were talking earlier, like we saw this during Trump's first presidency, and we're going to keep on seeing it, unfortunately. And like I was telling him, what really does make me sad is that there is no therapy for the children, for the people of the tender age, as he so put it the first time, there is no therapy for this. So these kids are going to grow up with this trauma, with this PTSD that
It's
there
going to be
is.
generational.
It's gonna be. It's
Their
exactly. It's
kids
gonna be
and
generational.
those kids of their kids
Are gonna be feeling it. They're gonna be going through this. Like there is no therapy for this. That's really what gets on the what bothers me the most is these kids.
I think it's a big issue. It wasn't such a big issue between the Obama and the Biden administration because it didn't have a racist connotation to it. But because Trump is president, it completely has a racist a racist feel to it. And growing up Mexican American, my parents, who migrated to the United States, and not just my parents, but every other country and every other immigrants that came here, have the same fear. Fear of getting deported, fear of splitting family apart, and we know the abuse that this carries. Not just mentally, but also physically and emotionally. um and I think it's very like
it's sad.
it's very heartbreaking.
It's very sad, very heartbreaking. It's traumatic. It really is traumatic. Like, and again, to what he was saying, and this the Mexican Repatriation Act. Like I'm illiterate, I guess. So had America not done that, like the deportation of almost 2 million Mexicans, like the Mexicans would have been in this country for generations. America set us back by deporting this many Mexicans. They set us back. Not only, I don't know if people know this or like if you remember this, but not only did they um, deport all these Mexicans, obviously to fix the problem of the economy and making sure there were more jobs. It was also a way because the Filipinos were also coming in a lot. It was the country's way of trying to scare them of go back, go back. It was their way to scare
it's
them.
all a way to whitewash and to point fingers to not themselves, because at the end of the day, it's government's fault that of when it comes present time, when it comes to inflation, food inflation, instability when it comes to home and all these other things. It's a way to damage not just a specific community, which is us, but the Latin community in America. It's completely rounded. I think it's very scary that it's almost 100 years since this happened, and it's continually happening. Um, it's I think it's a very eerie and weary time right now to be Latino, to be immigrant, especially now that we have in 2022 and 2023, they literally opened the borders for a bunch of immigrants, but because they were not Ukrainian or they were not Caucasian or European, they are now deporting many of them back to their countries. So it's a very sad topic.
Again, the government is just looking for a way as a quick fix. Like this is their quick fix. Like, and it's something that me and Ellie have talked about. Like, and I think Trump even said it maybe in an interview, or another politician around him said it in an interview that sadly, when it comes to this, like those people are afraid of becoming the minority, which is what was the consensus was showing that in just a few more years,
it's already happening.
They were going to be.
They are the minority. They're the minority now in America, because a lot of mixed races, that mixed race that's happening. Either black and white, Latino and black, or Latino and white. And I think for me, I think the media has a big say when it comes to the whole racist situation happening. I think
Mm-hmm.
they have something at play where they put fear to their own citizens, or they want to continue the same story, which is in reality that's not
It's
it.
and
We're
it's
not.
irresponsible.
Yeah,
It's irresponsible.
yeah, we're obviously an amazing country, aside because we're first of all, we are a first world country. We're an amazing country. We have such freedom when it comes to certain things, but now because of what's going on, not just the immigrant community is being impacted, but also the LGBTQ community is
Mm-hmm.
impacted. Our trans brothers and sisters are being impacted.
Mm-hmm. He's
Uh,
basically deleting that
he's trying.
this cabinet,
He's
this
trying.
presidential is trying to just delete anybody that they don't like, which
Very
is
conservative.
very, they don't like the brown, they don't like the LGBT, which is why I told him like it's important for us to stay consistent and work hard with our project here because we're representing for a very underrepresented community, and this is why again like we give so much thanks to the people who support, to the people who watch. We want you guys to continue watching, continue supporting. We're gonna have a lot of fun with our conversations, but yeah, like we're probably gonna have some serious topics like this one here. It's something that is near and dear to our heart because when we look on the news, these media outlets, and they show us the people who are getting deported, they look like us. They look like our parents. They look like our cousins. They are our community. So yeah, like we feel for them. It's something that is extremely personal to us. So unfortunately, I have to say, like, if you're somebody who was a supporter of that man and you don't even acknowledge that his actions, his words are hurtful, I have to see that you're that same type of person.
Specifically, the Latinos that
Mm-hmm.
voted
For that man.
for that for that individual. Um, it's it's sad, It's really sad. It puts into perspective how those Latinos are still in that mentality where be so they want to erase their brown
Mm-hmm.
or blackness, just so they're able to in their head coexist or be equal to white men, which is never going to happen, and they're never going to see them that
Yeah.
way. But um, it's
But what do we know? What do we know? You guys know. You guys voted for him. What do we know? What do we know?
I didn't vote for him. Mm.
But anyway, so yeah, this was something we definitely pretty quickly came to our mind that we wanted to talk about. It's something that is American history. This Mexican Repatriation Act is part of American history. If they're going to teach us in our history class about the Great Depression and World War II and the wars that came after that and before that, then we have to include everything. You know what I mean? The Mexican Repatriation was a big deal in American history.
Um public education is literally just a to me, now that I'm an adult, is literally is a condition. It's a way to condition low income and poor communities, so they could keep on using those triggers against each other instead of working together to better ourselves. We are literally just um, being being pushed around, and we're being controlled.
Dismissed and deleted.
We're being controlled. We literally being controlled, But if you take a step back and you realize that not everything they say or the way they do things, it's right. This country, even though it's sad, and we don't want to repair our history and acknowledge our history. This
Mm-hmm.
country was founded by immigrants. Yeah, white people are fucking immigrants. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Really, like, and then really, if we really wanted to get to the nitty gritty of the shit, like, there's a separation between what we know as the Native Americans and the Mexicans. But in all honesty, like, and it's something that even in high school, this thought always came to my head, like, how come Mexicans and Native Americans look so much alike? We
because
are
we're
cousins.
cousins.
We are cousins. And I saw somebody else say this online, like, we truly are, we are different tribes of the same people. We really are. So again, if we wanted to get to the nitty gritty of it, this continent was always ours. And because this continent was always ours, that's what the indigenous people used to do back then. They would migrate all throughout the continent. So us migrating has always been all right since before that man landed on us.
I think we don't have to. I think we should realize that we can just point him out just because there's been presidents back in the day that were just as racist as he is. I think
Well, he's bluntly, openly about it. Like, there are,
or most of them are like
their
the
policies
ones in
and
the
what, yeah.
50s,
Hmm.
the 50s, the 60s, the 40s, they were all bluntly racist. I think it's more triggering now because we've been,
We
as
are.
Mexican, this has been happening for so long. It's literally about to be 100 years. In 3 4 years, it's about to be 100 years since this happened, and we're continuing, and it continues for us. It's a continuation of like how we've been diminished and
Hmm.
looked over and not been properly handled by
Hmm.
this by the government in America.
Hmm.
How we've been ostracized and pushed. Um, that's why I think it's very important to educate ourselves and to be very open minded. And I don't think all white people are bad, and not all white people think alike. I
Hmm.
just think there's certain people who are in the government that have been there for years,
Hmm.
that they're literally farting dust. They're eating puree and they're farting dust. That's how old they are, and they're still in these seats. And they're conservative and Republican, and they still have
This
um
ignorant and closed-minded mindset.
yeah, and I think it's not helping. It's not helping our black counterparts as well as our Latino native counterparts. Um, but aside from that,
Hmm.
I think Mexicans have have impacted Mexican culture, have impacted, and I'm saying Mexicans because at the end of the day, anyone who is brown is in America is categorized as a Mexican. But Mexican culture has influenced American culture
Hmm.
in food, music, sports, and art. Food. Every American loves tacos,
Yes,
like Taco
we
Bell.
literally just had
Everybody loves
tacos.
burritos,
I don't like
like
burritos.
Chipotle,
Chipotle doesn't count.
or Pollo Loco. Those are three American restaurants that have influence and impact. That are
Inspired.
vaguely and inspired by Mexican culture,
Hmm.
and they're very big now in America.
Hmm. Yeah.
Music like mariachi, mariachi, banda,
Hmm.
tequila is Mexican, Coca Cola is Mexican. Um, Even in sports like Oscar de la Hoya, Erika Ruiz, Tom Fierce, Malcolm Rodriguez, Ron
Hmm.
Rivera, Horacio Llamas.
Hmm. So these names are big iconic names that are boxers. They are names that are NFL players.
In
They're
sports.
in sports.
They're all big in sports, and they've impacted. Um, for example, in music, both Selena Gomez and Selena Quintanilla, Peso Pluma, Becky G.
Right now, from what I see right now, Mexican music and Mexican artists are some of the more popular in some of the in streamings. Like they're the ones, yeah, like they're the ones right now that are really popular, that are really making the big numbers. Like they are the ones, like, again, the impacts that they're having right now. Like even for me, like right now, I love Peso Pluma and I love Becky G. Love them. Of course, I grew up on Celine. That's something that's
She's legendary.
Absolutely. So
you're legendary, but she's legendary.
Anyway,
other people in the arts that have impacted American culture, Guillermo del Toro, Salma Hayek, Danny Trejo, Jenny Ortega, Demi Lovato. And America doesn't have a specific language, obviously English is in the majority because it's the language that colonizers use when they came and colonized this side of the world. But
yeah,
the second most spoken language is Spanish.
Español. But Nelly's a no sabo kid, so.
Por favor. Esta ni chile puede comer.
I don't like spicy food. That's true. Anybody who knows me, knows I don't like spicy food.
No le gusta el chile, pero le gusta que se lo.
Anyway. But yeah, so the names again that he was mentioning, like Guillermo del Toro, is a very big director who has big movie titles under his belt. Obviously, some of the other names are big actors and actresses. Jenny Ortega, I believe, is half Mexican. Demi Lovato is half Mexican.
Selena Gomez is half Mexican.
There's a ton of really big name actors, actresses that are half Mexican. And
Eva Longoria.
Yeah, Eva Longoria is full, I believe, full Mexican.
She's Mexican American. She's like
us.
She's a Texan.
Yeah.
Well.
So yeah, the point is that even though we have right now a governor, a presidential cabinet that tries to dismiss us and demonize us, we've always been there. We're still there. Like again, these big names whose faces are out there on our TVs, on our phones, whether they're directing, whether they're acting, whether they're out on the field playing whatever sport that they're playing in. Like we're here now with some of the names he's mentioned, and we've always been here again with the Mexican
Repatriation. And we're not going to go nowhere.
And in all honesty, like I don't feel like we're going to go anywhere.
I think one of the most important reasons I think we agree to this is this is the reason we're doing this podcast is to impact la cultura, and when I mean la cultura is, to at least put a little bit of us, out there, so people get to know who we are. Not all of us are rapists or lighting women on the train on fire.
Well, he wasn't Mexican. Let's specify that. He was not Mexican.
But like I said, in America.
However, in America, they will box him in with us.
Exactly.
Sadly.
And not all immigrants are those people, Not everyone. Yeah. Immigrants are very hardworking. They're family people.
Yeah. For example, I mentioned before, we literally just had tacos. We had tacos from a real Mexican owned store. The owners are Mexican, and they probably were immigrants. They crossed over, they did what they had to do, and then they opened up a business. There are a ton of real Mexican owned businesses whose owners started as immigrants. So
and I don't think the whole lie of like, immigrants don't pay taxes, that's a fucking lie. Like, come on, let's be real. Like, food is taxed, clothing is taxed, everything is fucking taxed. We pay taxes, when they get a job nowadays, there's no such thing under the table under the books. You can't. You have to have some type of like identification to get the job. And come on, let's be realistic. Most of these immigrants, in order for them to get a job, they might not do the they might not do it the legal way, but they do get taxes taken off, and they don't receive those taxes at the end. So where the fuck are those tax dollars going
Yeah,
to?
they get from their work permits, not fake IDs. They get like their work permits. They do get a tax number where at the end of the year, like all these immigrants, they're doing their taxes. They are doing their taxes,
but they're not receiving them at all. So I'm not saying all, but I'm saying that's how most of them start. So I think that's something that it's view over us, our head, how we actually are either creating jobs or working
we're
hard,
bringing in money.
and we tend to not appreciate that, and media and the government is trying to control us
Paint a
by,
picture that is not accurate.
and it's not true.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Just a little. I think we just wanted to put a little history out there, just so people would understand.
Like I said, that history repeats itself.
And helping Jesus,
Here we fucking go.
Know how to say repetition. Not reparation.
Repetition. Repetition.
A ver, spell it.
No. I can spell it, but I'm not going to spell it.
Do you? Well, how do you spell it, girl?
Anyhow. But yeah, the point of today was to give you guys another side of us, that we're not just gonna always be bantering and talking shit.
I'm always talking shit.
We definitely want to have our serious talks about shit that is personal to us. And what's happening right now in our country is something that is extremely personal to us. So I'm glad that we got to share you guys just a tiny piece of Mexican American history that America doesn't like to acknowledge, because it's also an ugly part of American history. And here we are again, living the same history. So we will see what happens.
Any last words?
No, just as always, thank you guys for watching, supporting, showing love. Stay safe out there to my.
Oh, you're gonna show these bitches your tattoo?
I'm not showing them my tattoo.
Go to his page. You see his tattoo. It's actually very beautiful.
Thank you. But yeah, I got a new tattoo, and I'll probably get another tattoo in another couple of weeks, because I'm trying to get tatted before the summer. I'm trying to be out in booty shorts.
¿Cuándo no, mija? ¿Cuándo no?
Anyway.
Pinche boquetón que se echa.
Anyway. So yeah, guys, thank you for joining us on this episode. Our next episode, we're going to have fun again, so don't worry about it. We're not going to be serious in every episode. But yeah, in the next one, we'll have a little more fun.
Take care, y'all. And remember...
What?
The quote that you said the other day with the whole, I don't want to mention names, but if you don't love yourself.
Oh, I forgot it.
I had to, read this bitch a little bit, because I'm not getting no paycheck from that girl.
The bitch wishes she can read it. Anyhow, thank you for joining us. We will see you again in the next episode.